Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for taking the time to log on to this webinar this afternoon. We're very excited to be here, and we have a fantastic agenda for you lined up for you this afternoon. We'll be covering off the 5 ways to improve supply chain productivity, as well as other significant benefits of deploying real-time solutions. We'll be covering, Kerwin will be joining us, and we'll explore the ROI, which typically can be measured in months and not years. So in some cases, the ROI is even instant. So a quick thing on housekeeping. This session will be recorded and available for download, along with a copy of our recent white paper on gamification. I also encourage you to perhaps switch to full screen mode for the best viewing. If you'd like to ask any questions during the webinar, then please feel free to raise your hand or just type in some questions, and we'll try and get round to those. We have a section at the end of the webinar for Q&A, so we can cover off any questions you have there, but feel free to enter them as we go along. If we can't get to any of those questions, we will follow up via email at a later stage. So, a couple of introductions then. My name is Jason Shave, and I work out of our London-based head office at Tower 42. I've been implementing supply chain or intelligent visual communications for many, many years. So please feel free to reach out to me after this webinar if you have any further questions, or if anything springs to mind. With me, I have Kerwin Everson, who's the Global Supply Chain Practice Leader and Resident Supply Chain Guru. He's the one to the left of the screen, the one who's seen a few more winters. Do you want to say hello, Kerwin?
Well, I'm not sure after that introduction if I want to say hello, but thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here, and I'll just take that more winters as meaning I'm older and wiser, right, Jason?
Absolutely. So Kerwin has been instrumental in delivering an amazing amount of supply chain solutions to some of the biggest names in the business, and we'll reference some of those later in the deck. So quickly, before we move on, I hope this webinar is educational and provides you with some compelling insights into the world of real-time visual data. And hopefully by the end, you'll agree that IVS solutions solve many, many unique problems. I couldn't help myself there throwing in that acronym. The world doesn't have enough of them already. Okay, so let's move on. I'll set the scene before handing over to Kerwin. And I just love this analogy. From our experience in supply chain space, many, if not all, environments can be compared to a sporting event without a scoreboard. So picture this, you've just joined a game that's already started. You don't know who's playing, what the score is, or how long of extra time is left. This is exactly what we see all too often in supply chain today. Little or no real-time information where it's needed to make instant impact on business decisions. What use is a scoreboard that's showing yesterday's or last week's data? How effective is a whiteboard that's manually updated retrospectively? With real-time information, you immediately know the status of a game. You know how much time is left on the clock, who's ahead, who's playing, and what players have scored. As the team captain, you have historical information about the season, so you can compare and contrast players' performance to make effective decisions. From the many companies I spoke to, the relevance of real-time data information makes sense right away, and they start to visualize how this can work within their own environments. So, without further ado, let me hand you over to the ruggedly handsome one, Kerwin, and we'll share his experiences in supply chain and perhaps some of the unique challenges that the managers are facing today.
Right. Thank you, Jason. I also love that analogy, and it's a good introduction into the importance of scoreboards, or in the world of supply chain, this whole concept of business intelligence. And what we're going to be talking about today is really visual business intelligence. So as we think of the many unique challenges that you face as a supply chain expert today, whether you're in manufacturing or transportation, distribution or fulfillment, meaning direct to customer, or in all of those, the first of these unique challenges that you face is really this whole concept of customer service. And of course, the big Amazon mantra, which Jason has cleverly put on the screen here, is they say that they can get you anything you want delivered tomorrow. And of course, that sets the bar pretty high for you as a customer service challenge. And in fact, in this country, Amazon touts that at least in 30 cities, they can do that today. So if you order it in the morning, you'll have it in the afternoon. And we sometimes refer to this age we live in as kind of the microwave age. I've got to have it, and I've got to have it now. And you know, I remember my children first being amazed that it took a whole 5 minutes to do a baked potato in the microwave. I had to explain to them how long it used to take. But anyway, that leads us to the second of the challenges that we're going to discuss today, and it is around all of the planning challenges that you face. You know, today's supply chain executive is asked truly to do it all. You have to determine, are we going to go direct to the store, direct to the customer? You determine the plant logistics and the plant layout. You determine things like the distribution center layout, and you have to plan for and mitigate risks before they really have an impact, or before, as this illustration points out, before your supply chain breaks. We're all experienced terms like just-in-time and lean and Six Sigma, and I like to use the analogy that of a rock climber, where every move is calculated, and I'm planning where is my next handhold and my next foothold. And you know, of course, you've never heard this next challenge, and that's the idea that I've got to do more with less. So the cost challenge is our next slide. And it's around, you know, can I do really more with less? Can I eliminate surprise expenses? You know, we all have rising transportation costs, rising labor costs, healthcare costs. You know, there are costs associated with regulatory issues and safety issues. And you as a supply chain expert and a supply chain manager are being asked to save more, produce more, or produce it cheaper. And, you know, so I can really appreciate those challenges. But as a key supply chain manager, I think you'll really appreciate this look at the next challenge that you face with employees. And that's this whole concept of employee retention. And I think it's best illustrated with these two questions that I saw asked some time ago, and I really love these. They resonate. The first is, what if you invest in your people and they go somewhere else? You know, no one wants to train their employees for their next employer. But more tragic is that second. What if we don't invest in them and they stay? So those are things you need to consider. And these are some of the challenges that you face as a supply chain expert today. And as we move on now, we'll talk to visual data. And so we're going to turn our attention now to this whole concept of visual data, or in RMG Networks, we call this visual supply chain solutions. And we're going to look at just 5 of these today, 5 ways that we believe visual data can overcome those challenges we just talked about. There could be many, many more. But the first one we're going to talk about is the idea that visual data and visual business intelligence can help you eliminate business silos. And we all have silos in our business, whether we want to or not. I was at a customer recently, and one of their visionary statements was, let's eliminate silos. And I thought, wow, you're talking our business now, because you have silos in what's inbound, what's in receiving, what stock is in replenishment, what do I need to restock on shelves, what do I need to pick or pack, or what's going on in value-added services or in shipping. And if you're in manufacturing space, every line is producing something, and every machine on that line could have silos of information that may not be delivered across the enterprise. And we want to talk today about what we call whole chain visibility, where we give you visibility up and downstream. One great example I have here is we had a customer, actually the Nashville glass plant, that put this in a windshield manufacturing facility. They started communicating upstream and downstream of what was happening at each department. And so they had screens in Department 306 and 307 and 308, and they were reporting on their windshield or windscreen manufacturing. And they were reporting, we're finding a scratch in the upper right-hand corner of every windshield coming out of your department, or a chip or a break, whatever it might be. And without necessarily producing more finished windshields, they started producing more higher quality windshields. And so they were eliminating scrap. And they actually saw their daily production go from 7,000 to 8,400 windshields per day, a full 20% increase. So let's move on. And the second way that visual supply chain solutions can help is they help you utilize real-time performance. And I love this visual that Jason came up with. It's this idea of let's utilize real-time performance, because if you're relying on last week's report or even yesterday's report, then you're managing in a rear-view mirror. And just imagine for a minute if you're a picker or a packer in the distribution center, and you could find out exactly where I stand at 10:30 in the morning, and I know exactly what my target or goal is for the rest of the day to make my goal by a 3 or 4 o'clock end of shift. You know, that kind of real-time performance data can actually help you in your daily performance and efficiency versus a corkboard ranking. I think we have a poll here we'd like to ask the audience, if you wouldn't mind participating. Jason will put that up here. It's really around how many of you use real-time data or real-time metrics and are currently displaying them out on the floor where they really matter. Choose one of those answers, if you will, whether it's we use a desktop dashboard, which might mean I need to go back to the office. We use a small screen, a large screen, or we don't use real-time. We're kind of relying on yesterday's data. Just pick one of those, and Jason will give you a minute and report on the findings.
Yeah, so we just give just a few more seconds here for people to click on the relevant button and submit. So far we're looking at 71% currently do not use real-time metrics at all, which is quite telling. And then 29% are using large format, 50-inch and above. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good. That's good to know. Well, as we let's go ahead and move on. One of my favorite slides today really is this next one, because it's about the employee and what real-time metrics can mean to improving employee morale. Right, Jason?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think this is critical. We see it a lot with a lot of companies that by engaging employees, they're buying into the work ethics of the company, and when they're happier, they work a lot harder. So, yeah, totally agree with you there.
Well, I've seen this actually in play. We had a company in this country, Levi Strauss. I was in their distribution center, and they actually paid employees an incentive pay based on their performance. But they didn't have large screens. They allowed the employee to actually leave their job up to 10 times per day and go to a monitor, key in their employee identification number, and determine exactly how I am doing. And what was happening was they realized their employees were losing productivity by just leaving the job and going to find out what a good job or bad job they were doing. So your employees want to do a good job, and we know that you spend a lot of money in those high labor areas, whether you're putting in things like voice pick or pick to light. But sometimes it's as easy for the employee and the employee morale and the employee engagement to just put a screen up that says, here's your goal, here's how you're performing, and here's what's left. And you can, highlight that in green or yellow or red. Actually, another poll question would come in handy here. We were wondering how many of you actually, does your company use incentive-based pay or some sort of bonus pay based on performance? Could you choose one of those and just let us know that?
Yeah, again, we'll just give a quick overview, quick response this time around. So 67% say they do. Oh, figures changed slightly. Yeah, it's roughly 50% who do and 25% don't know. So that's
okay. All right.
Some indication.
All right. Well,
there.
So what's important there about those numbers, though, if you think about it, if half or more of the companies pay some sort of incentive pay, generally speaking, they don't let the employee know the score. So again, that employee is, quote, in the game without a scoreboard, like your first analogy, Jason. But let's go ahead and move on. Next on our list of ways that visual supply chain solutions can improve results is it that we can actually improve the efficiency and the productivity of the worker. So in the supply chain, like no other space, data is everywhere. Reports are everywhere. You just have reams and reams of printed material. And generally, we print out the report, and the minute we print it out, it's old news because it's what happened an hour ago. But we post that on the board to let folks know what has happened. This visual reminds me of the concept of the Hawthorne effect, and many of you probably know what that's all about. If not, look it up. It was actually a study that was done back in the 50s and 60s on worker productivity. And what was amazing about that study is it was kind of a random experiment. They turned the lights down low, and they turned the lights up higher, brighter. And what was amazing is worker productivity improved whether they made them do their work in dim light or bright light. And basically, they found out the results were you get what you measure. So what we're talking about today is that in the areas of safety or quality or accuracy or orders complete, whether it's parts per minute or picks per hour or hours per truck, we're going to help you improve your productivity. And we do it by capturing data from all these kinds of disparate data sources that you see here, whether they're on-the-line production data, whether they're warehouse management or transportation management systems, ERP systems, many, many more that you see here, and this is just a sampling. And then we capture that data and we report on it in real time on large displays or scoreboards in your plant or distribution center, on desktop in-views we call them, or even on mobile devices. A real great story here that we were doing a video one time in a distribution center, and back to the Hawthorne effect, and you get what you measure. We were kind of taping some workers who were on a production line putting garments on a conveyor belt. And when they saw they were on camera, they automatically went into fast motion and started putting the items on the conveyor belt at a quicker rate. It was kind of a comical, but it really spoke to the point that if they know they're being watched and measured, they're going to work better. And so give them that scoreboard and help them do their job better because they want to. Jason, this brings us really to our final fifth point on how we can improve your productivity, and it's really the ROI factor. Really, we're going to help you improve your bottom line, whether we call this visual data, visual business intelligence, or visual supply chain solutions. When they're implemented properly in real time, they will raise your profit margin. So if you kind of think back on everything we said, if you eliminate silos, you're going to increase your ROI because you're going to have whole chain visibility. If you improve communications among the team, you're going to increase ROI. If you improve employee engagement and employee motivation and morale, all of these things will improve your bottom line. And as Jason points out here, every penny counts. So we have, and if you're interested in getting some of this data later, we have proven examples, we have case studies, and we're going to show you a few of the examples as we move forward. But one of my heroes, because I have a couple of math degrees, was Albert Einstein, and he said this, you know, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I believe that if I couldn't boil this webinar down to its simplest form and help you understand it in just a sentence, then I really don't understand a lot about this space. And I think the simplest form is really this. You can use intelligent data and visual communications to improve your supply chain productivity. It's as simple as everyone needs to know the score. And we think it really is that simple, but you have to do that with real-time data. Just remember the rear view mirror analogy that we talked about earlier. So let's discuss now how visual supply chain solutions can be used and the kind of results that we've seen. So this is typically what I see when I come in a lot of your facilities. I see lots of reports all over the wall, Excel spreadsheets and web reports and whiteboards, but they're being updated by a couple of folks, ladies or gentlemen, daily or maybe per shift or even hourly. So you know the data is important, but I wonder how many people are really looking at it and how many people can effectively, at a glance, determine how are we doing today. But we'd like to see you go from this to this. And this is a large global company that wanted us to put this into one of their command centers. And this is actually a huge video wall. Hopefully by looking at this closely, you can determine that this is 3 screens high on the left by 5 screens wide. So this is a 15 LCD video wall. And what you see here is multiple real-time feeds, multiple databases, everything from warehouse management data to transportation management to inventory management. We're measuring trucking and transportation companies against one another. We're even monitoring, in this case, this large global company produced some ice cream products, and we're measuring freezer temperatures. So in the center of the screen, you see there are 5 manufacturing plants, and there's some 20-odd distribution facilities. And this was going to be in their command center with real-time feeds for TV and weather and real-time information that an employee could at a glance determine red, yellow, green, and how are we doing in each of the areas. So what kind of results have we seen? We've talked about those, but you know, as we move forward, I'm going to share with you a couple of the ROIs that we've seen. One of our customers, which was a large box store retailer with a large distribution center, 1.44 million square feet in this country, and they have a network of some 20-plus distribution centers, told me that they put in various different supply chain process improvements, and every time they see a process improvement net them 1% increase in efficiency or productivity, that means to them it was 55 million US dollars. Jason has put it here as 35 million pounds. And that he believes that visual supply chain solutions implemented across their space, they only have it in a couple of DCs today, will net them another 1%. So that's huge. That would pay for, those systems they would put in would pay for themselves in just a couple of months. Another customer actually was measuring stocker performance or picker performance. And what they saw, they called it post-implementation. They had a third-party consulting company come in, and after implementation of real-time scoreboards, they saw stocker performance and picker performance improve in the 5 to 10% range. And we have that study that we'd be happy to share with you. And Jason, what I think we should do is probably scroll through a few of the visual supply chain scoreboards that we've built for our customers. This is a great example of one that shows off safety. very, very important in your plants and DCs today. It shows safety performance, it shows team performance, but it's very employee engaging because the employee he's at your workforce from 8 to 10 hours per day, and so he wants to know what's the weather outside when I get off work and I'm going to the soccer match or whatever it might be. So we keep them very engaging, but we're also reporting in real time on safety, quality, and productivity. One of the hot topics today is gamification, and we have a couple of examples of those coming up. The first one here helps you really see that this scoreboard we can build for you is truly just a blank canvas. It can be anything you want it to be. And this one can kind of show off some friendly competition among individuals or teams. And, you know, many of your employees in your workforce today, Jason, unlike me, have not seen many winters. And they're younger and younger. And so this next example shows some gamification ideas that we have used where we don't just put up their results in percentages, or we put you in the green category or the yellow or the red, but rather we kind of use the whole gaming concept. And you know, you're running this race, and have you fallen in the pit, or have you jumped over the hurdle, and are you at the finish line? And this really can influence and impact and motivate your employees to see it in a gamification view sometimes. But personally, I like to see the screens used most effectively like this, where we're taking that real estate of these large screens, and whether you use 50-inch screens or we put up huge video walls for you, you know, let's motivate the employees with data that stands out. So the employees know at a glance, how are we doing? Green, yellow, red. What's our goal? What's our actual? Are we plus or minus? And at the same time, we mix in all of these engaging, motivating tidbits, if you will. And you can see that on the side where we have news, weather, sports, live TV, up-to-date information about our employees, and so on. Also, I think we need to think bigger than just one location at a time. I would really like you to think globally, because we are a global company. Many of you are as well. One of my customers here in Tennessee, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, by the way, but Kingsport, Tennessee is the home of Eastman Chemicals. And we have truly installed them in their chemical facilities across the globe, from Shanghai to Singapore, in EMEA, in the Netherlands, and in Estonia, and in India, and many places in the U.S. But don't think about silos. Think globally. And let's not have one location knowing and another not knowing what's happening, but let's look at whole chain visibility. So this global example of many locations shown at the same time is really, really important. But I know our time is just about up, and we wanted to save a minute or two here at the end for Q&A. So Jason, I'll turn it back over to you if there are any questions.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Cohen. That was very insightful, and I hope everyone will agree that you know, that's a good insight into, you know, the 5 ways you can increase productivity. And hopefully it's primed a few thought-provoking questions. So I'm going to just open it up and have a quick check here to see which questions have come in. Okay, so we've got a couple of interesting questions here. I'll just pick one at random. Okay, I have a data source that is not listed on a previous slide. Do you support any other third-party data feeds? Very interesting question.
Yeah, very good. So yes, that is obviously one of our strengths, in that the data sources we can tap into are many and varied. And I just put up a few on the slide that we had earlier. Jason did. We put up things like ERP systems, but then we only named a few. We put warehouse management systems, and then just named a couple of the bigger players like Manhattan and Red Prairie and others. We even mentioned some of the PLCs, but only put up a handful of the PLC manufacturers like Mitsubishi, Hitachi, and others. So through some of our ODBC collectors, text parsing collectors, and other kinds of data collectors, SharePoint, Salesforce, and others, we can consult with you and more than likely tie into any and all of your data sources.
Excellent. Well, I'm conscious of the time. We're exactly at 30 minutes now, so we scheduled a slot for 30 minutes. There are quite a few questions, but I just don't think we're going to get time to go through them now. So what we'll do is we'll follow up via email. We'll also send you out a copy of the presentation recording and also the white paper. So I'd just like to thank everyone for taking the time today to log into the webinar. And hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.